Hello, welcome to the Jazz Ranch. I had a request from a subscriber to play the song Fly Me to the Moon and then play a solo and write it out. Well, actually what I did was I wrote out the solo and then I learned to play it, which is more difficult for me than to have improvised. But what it does is it enables me to put logical ideas together that are important for the concept of improvisation, what I would call basic concepts of good improvisation. So I'm going to explain those to you. I'm going to play it for you, play the song, play the solo that I wrote out. You can follow along with the notes. You can download the score and learn this solo, and then hopefully you'll be able to apply it to other songs that you're playing and improvisation in general. So here we go now with Fly Me to the Moon. Here we go. Okay, welcome to the Jazz Ranch studio. I'm going to be explaining what I played in the solo. Now, I had a request to play the song Fly Me to the Moon and create a solo and write it out. So actually what I did was I wrote this solo out rather than transcribed it from an improvised solo, which would have been more difficult to play probably for you. At any rate, it was more difficult for me to do it this way because it's easier for me to just improvise and then transcribe. But I wanted to make some important points. And I'm going to tell you right away in the first four measures, there's some important points. I'm starting on an A minor chord and I'm starting on the third. And then I ascend stepwise up to the fifth and then skip up to the seventh. And then just descend. So I'm actually going stepwise, and then I skip up to the seventh, and then descend stepwise to the target tone of the third on the D minor chord. So, important point to understand there is the approach tones and target tones. In other words, the G is an approach tone now to the F, which is the target tone of D. And so, first rule is the use of approach tones and target tones on strong beats, particularly beat 1, which is the strongest beat of the measure. I wanted a target tone there. And the third is a really good one because it's very exclusive to that chord. You know, the third is probably the most important target tone you could pick. But I mean, you could use the root or the fifth or the seventh. And you're going to see that I'm going to use other notes than notes that are in the chord. But usually they'll be followed by a chord tone. And you'll see that as we go along here. But the important thing also to see is that I'm ascending stepwise, then I skip, and then I descend stepwise, and then I repeat the same idea on the D minor chord. So I have this. See, that's a very good, what you call a sequence. In other words, you create an idea, and then you repeat the idea, but based on another chord. So it's the same formula. It's 3, 4, 5, 7, then targeting on the 3 of the D minor, 4, 5, 7. So that's an important concept, is to create ideas that follow each other. In other words, one thought leads to the next. So it's coherent. Your ideas make sense. And then I descend stepwise and target in on the root of the G7. So there is a balanced idea, balanced phrase. In other words, ascending, descending, ascending, and then descending. It's like a wave. So, and it's melodic. Now here I do this turn. So those two ideas follow, you see? Ending up on the E, or the third again of the C major. See, so I have target tones on the third, all through there. Third, third, then the root, then the third again. Then I have a point of rest. In other words, now I have movement, then I have rest. And also, the other concept that's important is I have a beginning of an idea and it ends. I have an ending, you know. So there it ends, you see. So that gives it, makes sense, rather than just rambling on continuously. And that's okay too. But to start to learn improvisation, you want to learn some basic rules. So that's a good rule, is to start an idea and end the idea. So there you have it. Point of rest, and then I fill in with the left hand. Put an idea in the left hand to complement it. And also so that it just isn't hanging in space with nothing happening, you know. So this gives some movement in the left hand, or some fill in that measure that would be empty otherwise. Now I start a new idea, and I start on the third again of the F chord, and I do an ascending arpeggiated movement. Now arpeggiated movement is what I call vertical movement, and stepwise movement I call horizontal. You get the idea of that. So these are skips. Arpeggiated movement, ascending, then descending in steps, which is horizontal. Then a target on the third again of the B minor half diminished chord, and then arpeggiated movement again, then descending stepwise, then a chromatic approach. So here's the first chromatic approach. So that's the other idea here, is that you can use chromatic approaches to target tones. So I have, let's look at that whole idea. Starting in the third, skipping up, then descending, then the targeting on the third, then skipping up, then descending, skipping again, skip, then a chromatic approach to the root of the E chord, then vertical movement, arpeggiated movement there, ending up on the third again. These target tones of thirds really ground it, you know, on an important tone in the chord. Then I have a held note again, 4 beats. So I'm going to fill in with the left hand, just that. Okay, so now here is a new idea. So that's a complete idea, right? Notice that in improvisation we're using eighth notes, and they're swing eighths. So they're not even like this. They're swing. It's more emphasis on the first of the eight. See? If they're even, they'd be... No, sorry. That's even. Swing would be... And it's always legato. Those eighth notes are legato. They're like connected. They're very long. They're not short like that. There. Again, fill. Now, next phrase, D minor. I'm starting on the ninth. Okay, why? Just a choice. Now, I want something different. So 9, right? 9, 7, 5, 3 to here on the E. Let's get it. On the G, 13 or 6. But then I end up on the 5 there. And that chromatic. Nice turn descending to a non-chord tone chromatic approach to the 5. And then I'm going to follow it here. See, so those two ideas follow. This one, and then this. Slightly different, then up to the flat 9. Why do I go to the flat 9? Because it's in the chord, and I want it in the melody, or the improvisation of the melody. But I come right off it. I don't hang on it. I don't stay there. I resolve it to the 1. You see, so when you use a non-chord tone, often it is followed by a chord tone. It grounds it. Whenever you have the chord tone, it grounds it. It makes sense to have that in there because it accentuates the strength of that chord. And it makes sense to your ears. It just sounds better than if you played notes that aren't in the chord, you know, or targeted on notes that aren't in the chord. You want to do it once in a while, and you know, later on, more advanced improvisation, you'll do it a lot, and particularly in bebop, you use a lot of chromatic approaches. So here you're going to see another chromatic approach right away. I'm targeting on the 3rd there, on the D minor. Then I use a chromatic approach to the 1. So this is 3, 4, 3, 2, flat 2. There's your chromatic approach to the 1. Descending, then ascending skipwise or vertical. Then I do play these thirds, ending up on the 3rd of the C major. So I targeted there, I started on the 3rd, I targeted to a 3rd, and I ended up on a 3rd. How about that? This one. You see, very strong melodic phrase because of those target tones on the 3rd. Continuing now, I have a little answer to that phrase. Then I have this, and then I have this new idea. Now I'm going to change octaves and do something up in the upper octave, and I'm going to start on a non-chord tone. Flat 5, right to the 5, 1, and then that right there is the major 7 on the A minor, I'm sorry, that's the 3rd, major 3rd. That's an interesting thing to do because it's going to go there, target on that D. So there you have an approach tone from below, half step below to a whole step above. So that's very bebop-ish, you know. Another chromatic approach. And you often will use these when you need to have a filler note. You need another note in there to get to a target tone. You can put the chromatic in. So that's what I did. So if I did, I'd get there too soon. I'd get to the G too soon, so I put a chromatic in. There. And it's nice. Then I repeat the chromatic. targeting on the 5 of the C. And then a point of rest again, and a fill in the left hand. And then I have these triplets. I haven't played triplets yet, so I have triplets. So that's right up the scale chromatically, starting on the 3rd, up to the 5th, and back down to the 3rd. Then, see, ascending, descending, up in skips, targeting on that 5 of the B minor, flat 5. Another target on the 3 of the E7. And then some more thirds, targeting on the 3rd. Then the rest of this is sort of like mimicking the melody. Then there's the tag. Flat 9 on the A7. And this is all melodic ideas. Chromatic approach to the 3rd again. Then ending on the root of the chord of the C. So that's more melodic at the end, but you still have those approaches to the 3, the 3rd of the chord. So there you have a lot of ideas. You can learn this solo. Try to make sense out of these ideas that I've given you here. The idea of the target tones, the approach tones, chromatic approaches, the idea of ascending motion, descending motion, the idea of vertical movement, horizontal movement, all this makes sense out of your solos. The idea of the sequence. Lock the ideas together. Make one idea connect to the next. Have a beginning and an ending to your phrases. Have points of rest, points of movement, points of rest. These are all great ideas for improvisation. So I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you learned something. Please write to me. I'd love to hear from you. And we'll have a sign-off now. Thanks for watching. Signing off from the Jazz Ranch. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I want to give you a little shout out on my book. This is my book called Jazz Piano, Methods and Songbook for Professional Playing. I've sold thousands of copies. I have a special sale going on right now. If you buy my book, you'll get my 140-page appendix of exercises for free. All you have to do is order my book through my website, and then write to me, and my email address is below, and I will send that to you directly to your email. So please check out the videos I've made on both books so you can see everything that's inside them. Where can you go and see a complete inside of a book on a video? Only here at the Jazz Ranch. So thanks for tuning in today. Please give me a comment. I love to hear from you. I always answer all comments. You'll see that I do answer all comments if you give me enough time. And until next time, in the words of my great friend upstairs, Hermie Dressel, I'll say, swing loose. We'll see you next time around. Be cool. Bye-bye.